Hello everybody, my name is Jackie and welcome to Prairie Sports Talk, the podcast where we talk about sports that directly impact the Canadian Prairie. And we've got some interesting topics to talk about today. We're going to open up the show talking about a trade from the Swift-Current Broncos that, as a fan, makes me sad, but as somebody who tries to see the humanity in sports, I'm glad the Broncos did this. And then we're going to be talking about something a little more controversial. I want to talk a bit about the Chad Kelly situation in the CFL. There's a lot to unpack there. I'm not going to go into super specifics about the allegations, but I feel like I should talk about it at this point. And finally, we're going to be closing the show with some great news coming from the WNBA and specifically for Canadian sports fans. Let's get into it. So, first thing I want to talk about. The Swift-Current Broncos have traded fan favorite Matthew Ward to the Medicine Hat Tigers. It's unfortunate. I really like Ward. He's one of my favorite players, not just on the Broncos, but in the league. And next season, in his 20-year-old season, he will be suiting up for the Medicine Hat Tigers. It makes me glad that I got this picture of Matty Ward at the locker room sale. But it's painful to see such a popular player get traded. Now, I feel like the Broncos did do the right thing here. They traded Matthew Ward because he has asked to be traded. I'm glad the Broncos listened to his request and traded him. They got the 42nd pick in the WHL draft that just happened. They got a 3rd round pick in the 2027 draft and a 4th round pick in the 2028 draft. The Tigers are going to be a very good team next season, especially now with the addition of Matthew Ward, who is a tremendous player. My one complaint about him is sometimes he has a habit of sticking his nose in places it shouldn't be and taking unnecessary penalties. But he is an incredibly physical player. He's incredibly strong. He has a habit of getting on the scoreboard often and quick. And he is an all-around team player. It's going to be rough next season when Medicine Hat comes to town and I have to watch Matthew Ward play against the Broncos. But regardless, I wish him all the best in the future. And I hope he gets into the NHL or the AHL. I just want to see this kid have the opportunity to continue to play hockey and continue to grow as an athlete. Now, as I mentioned, the Swift-Current Broncos did get one current draft pick for him. They got Caleb Brownlee out of the draft pick. He plays for the Winnipeg Bruins in U15 AAA hockey. He's still relatively young, like I said. It's U15, so it's going to be 2-3 seasons till he's in the W. But he's a defenseman, and with the current age of our defensemen, I like the fact that we drafted a defensive player. Because in the coming years, the defense is going to be moving on. Like, I'll be shocked if Owen Pickering is back next season. Dvorak might be back. It will depend on what the LA Kings want from him. They might put him in the AHL. They might even call him up to be a third-line defender in the NHL. I am hoping we do bring Jakub Dvorak back, though. But it's still rough to see Matthew Ward move on. And unfortunately, I'm going to be having to deal with this feeling quite a bit because of how many players the Swift-Current Broncos had last season that were 19 and will be 20 this upcoming season. But regardless, all the best to Matthew Ward and Caleb Brownlee. Welcome to the Swift-Current Broncos. You're going to love it here. It's a tight-knit community, and this is a hockey-centric town. Chad Kelly, the Toronto Argonauts quarterback, has been suspended by the CFL for a minimum of 9 games. That is a minimum. Chad Kelly first burst onto the scene in the 2022 Grey Cup when in the 4th quarter he replaced an injured McLeod Bethel Thompson and went on to help the Argos to win that Grey Cup against the number 1 seeded Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Chad Kelly then became the full-time starter last season, where he was a major reason as to why the Argos only had 1 loss all regular season. He really struggled in the playoffs, throwing a lot of interceptions to say the very least. But now, here is where the controversy comes. Chad Kelly allegedly has a history of mistreating employees, especially women. And recently, he apparently, allegedly, lost his cool on a female employee of the Toronto Argonauts because she did not want to go on a date with him. And it got to the point where he apparently yelled at her in front of several other Toronto Argonauts staff members and people associated with the organization, and yelled about how he couldn't wait for the Argos to let her go when her contract was up. And then the Argos did just that. Yeah, less than ideal. And then, after a very, very, very slow response from the CFL, they finally suspended him for 9 games at least. And then, people associated with the Argos started to defend him. Not defend his character, not claim this didn't happen, not any of those things. They just started talking about how the suspension was too long or things like that. Namely, Pinball Clements, the president of the Toronto Argonauts, someone who has over 30 years of goodwill built up in the CFL, proceeded to go out and deliver a press conference in a very windy area, to say the very least, of the stadium, and defended Kelly quite a bit. It's about 15 minutes long. The press conference will be linked in the description down below on YouTube. And that press conference, at least of what I've seen online, has been pretty widely criticized. It's a good way to lose a lot of the goodwill he has built up over the years. But then somebody who doesn't necessarily have the goodwill that Pinball did went out and said something pretty bizarre to me. Jim Balco went on the Rod Peterson show, and in a long-winded rant about the CFL and how they handle things, and specifically the Chad Kelly situation, he spoke out about a CFL staffer who got upset that despite being suspended, Chad Kelly was being allowed to practice with the Toronto Argonauts despite his suspension. And he said that this staffer should at least be fined. I think that is a very bizarre thing to say. But at the end of the day, it is his right to say that stuff, even if I very, very much disagree with what he said. Once again, that clip will be linked in the description down below, as well as the tweet that I found that showed me the clip. But as if things weren't already chaotic enough around Chad Kelly, as of May 15th, he has been added to the Toronto Argonauts suspension list. I'm not overly sure what is going on right now. Because one moment it seems like Chad Kelly and seemingly the CFLPA are about to appeal this decision, because the CFLPA has requested the full decision regarding Chad Kelly as opposed to just a summary that the CFL released. To me, that sounds like the CFLPA is about to really look into the situation and try to appeal it. But despite that, Chad Kelly, as of the 15th, has been moved to the August suspension list and will be away from the team. It's been a very chaotic situation, to say the very least. And something tells me it's not about to calm down, because the CFLPA has turned around and they have appealed a suspension that I fully agreed with. Because they have turned around and appealed Sean Lemon's indefinite suspension for betting on CFL games, that including one that he was involved with. The CFLPA at this point is making a fool of themselves. They are defending people who, in my opinion, are indefensible if all the allegations are true. And this has been a very painful week to be a CFL fan, watching everyone come out of the woodwork to defend Chad Kelly, well, assuming these allegations are true, and now seeing the CFLPA about to start defending Chad Kelly and defending Sean Lemon. I'm not sure what is going on in the CFL. And when this episode goes live, we will be less than 4 days away from preseason. Something tells me, with preseason being so close and the CFL season being so close, things are only about to get more chaotic in the CFL. And it's not the good chaos that we saw around free agency. I'm a tad stressed headed into the season. I hope the CFL pulls it out though and has a great year. But on to some more positive news, and news that has me very excited. The WNBA is expected to expand by 2 teams by the 2026 tip-off. They just had the 2024 tip-off, and they have announced the first of 2 expansion teams, the Golden State Valkyries. This makes me incredibly happy. It brings me more excitement than I can explain to see a women's league not just surviving, but thriving to the point where they can expand and bring in more teams. The Valkyries will join the WNBA in 2025, and the next season, although this has not been confirmed yet, they are expected to bring in the first Canadian team into the WNBA. Toronto is expected to get a WNBA team for the 2026 season. I am so excited about this. I am a massive Canadian sports fan, obviously. And a few years back, around 2018, I really got into the Raptors, and I still follow them pretty closely. And in 2019, the Toronto Raptors, for the first time in franchise history, won a championship. For those of you who watch the championship or have a memory that lasts more than 5 years, you will remember this was against the Golden State Warriors. We have a chance to eventually run it back, except in the W. Because now Golden State is bringing in a team, and a year later, Toronto is bringing in a team. Give me the women's version of the 2019 NBA Finals, and make sure Toronto brings it back to Canada. That would be absolutely amazing. I know I'm thinking way too far ahead. I'm thinking like a decade plus down the road. But I am, regardless, very excited to see the WNBA grow and now being able to expectedly bring in a team from Canada. The WNBA has held games up here in the past, and those games have mostly been in Toronto, and they've been tremendous successes. And now the WNBA seems confident enough in the Canadian fan base to bring a full-time team up here. I am so excited. I'm amped for the future of women's basketball and women's sports in general. This is really exciting to me. But that is everything I have for you guys this week. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you're on Spotify, be sure to follow the 13th Man Podcast Network. I hope you guys had a great day, a great week, a great whatever. Stay safe, stay strong, you got this. And this is Jackie for Prairie Sports Talk signing off.